Uta Hagen here of Trans Widow Uta Hagen YouTube channel with a dahlia bouquet, all my Jowie Winnie dahlias, which I'm so happy to show off because I did increase my plants from one to two just by division last fall, and I have a variety of ferns in here, including maidenhair, and I think one is called autumn. And I'm going to let the ferns share the screen with me. I think it's very, very important, um, first of all, to thank my new subscribers and my loyal stalwarts. I'm very excited about having some growth recently. I think it's because I've posted about the Mr. Beast scandal and the Olympic opening ceremony scandal. Just one little aside about the Olympic drag sex show that opened it. My answer basically to the whole thing is those shows need to happen from midnight to 3 a.m. in the bars where they belong with the people who want to enjoy them on their, more typical schedule. And they should not have any children performing in them like the child in yellow. I want to know whether anyone is looking into whether that child is safe and sound. Because that child was standing next to one of the drag performers who had on either a very short, sequined black shorts, hot pants, or else a very short mini skirt, and he had, I'm just going to use technical terms regarding sexual organs. He had his penis and testicles sticking out for everyone to see. And there are all those people who have the images with the red circle and the arrow pointing to it, and the child in yellow is in the same screen. So if you ask me, I don't know how it is in France, but typically in most states in the US, that's considered indecent exposure and child enticement, which, depending on which state you're in, might be some kind of a felony or misdemeanor or something like this. So that is, as well, this is enticement that the man, Christopher Tyson, who calls himself now Ava Chris with a K, he was enticing teenage boys and sending them child porn images and this kind of thing, and met with some of them, and I am falling in the same opinion as those who say, I don't believe that Jimmy Donaldson, the Mr. Beast, I don't think that he was ignorant of all of these shenanigans. And in fact, it starts to make us raise a lot of eyebrows about the entire show, because why are these dudes having a crazy wacko show that targets children and gives them prizes and apparently introduces them to some version of gambling? Why are they doing this? Why don't they have at least some kind of consultant who is an early childhood specialist like me to make sure that they are not crossing any of the standard boundaries for children? All right, so that brings us to the main topic of this video, which is trans kids versus established child development. I already did present my video on object permanence, which is a concept that children obtain as a developmental milestone, that something you no longer see is actually still there, at about the age of 3 to 4. And I've done similar experiments to what Piaget actually did a long time ago with my little students who were that age way back to, about 25 years ago when I was teaching children of that age. And there are things you can do to help them learn this logic of the realities of life as well. What I am saying now that I don't hear anyone else saying, please share this where you share things on this topic, where you share with people who are working to help children, is when you are saying to a 10-year-old boy, oh, right. You could be born in the wrong body. You actually have a girl mind, and we can help you fix that. This is the deal. You are sending that child who should be entering formal operational phase of development where abstract thinking is accomplished and mastered. What you're doing is sending them back to the concrete operational phase. So, just to review the four stages of development that Piaget has established, which the National Institutes of Health has on their website, are sensory motor, that's pre-verbal, from age 0 to 2, pre-operational, and that is use of uh, intuitive thinking. They struggle with logical thinking and the capacity to think symbolically. 3 is about age 7 to 10, concrete operational. Reasoning operations are on concrete objects. And then formal operational is the beginning of maturity with nuanced language and the capacity for abstract thought and reasoning and logic. That is formal operational 11. Typically they say 11 to 14, but it's 11 and up. And now there's been further research to demonstrate that actually all of our cognition in our brain does not completely mature until about age 25. And there's also this, what do you call it? Another concept of what every child does as they go through all of these phases from sensory motor through to formal operational is assimilation of new information. They observe things happening, and then accommodation, modifying their beliefs based on those observations when some new piece of information comes in. And all of this builds incrementally and cumulatively to put a child on the road to abstract reasoning and the use of logic. So, I have been also looking again at this book by David D. Burns from 2020. It's titled Feeling Great, with a subtitle of The Revolutionary New Treatment for Depression and Anxiety. And I believe that this path outlined by Dr. Burns would help any patient who comes in with cross-sex ideation saying illogical, ideological beliefs like, oh, I was born in the wrong body. I was assigned the wrong so-called gender at birth. Those are illogical, unreasoned thoughts that cannot be proven And what happens typically with the what's called euphemistically affirmative care is um, a trip back to regression, back to a concrete operational stage where this individual patient, whether they are an adult or a 10-year-old child, they are being told, yes, you need props. You need props, clothing, shoes, accessories, and you need the prop up of others affirming a falsehood around you, which is that you can choose your sex. You cannot choose your sex. Your sex is determined at conception by the male sperm contributing the X chromosome, which means you will have XX and be a female, or the Y chromosome, meaning that you will have XY chromosomes and you will be a male. And this basically, what's happening is the indoctrination is sending all of the thinking, all of the trans allies thinking, all of the patients with cross-sex ideation going back, regressing, going to a regression to an immature stage of cognitive development, the concrete operational stage, meaning that a man like Nettie, my ex-husband, putting on makeup, wearing shoes that he thinks make his feet look smaller, and growing his fingernails out so that he thinks his hands look more feminine, and growing his hair out or wearing a wig so that, you know, from a nearsighted person's point of view, a couple of blocks away, he might be taken for a female. That is using concrete objects to support a false premise and something that actually is unprovable. So here we go with some of the techniques that Dr. David D. Burns suggests for helping a person as a therapist or a doctor, helping a person who has developed deluded thought processes, who believes they were, in quotes, born in the wrong body. Now, he's not directing this at that cohort because none of the medical profession or the mental health profession will address this head on and say what apparently Uta Hagen has to do, a retired teacher with, in many cases, much more exposure to children than some of these therapists. What I have to do is point out this is a regression to the concrete operational stage of development, and this person will be stuck there, immature, not fully developed, and become a narcissist who insists, like that viral video that's going around with the dude in a white top and black culottes who, got very vulgar and aggressive with this young woman who identifies herself as African American. He gets very aggressive with her, calls her the B word, throws off his wig, his concrete object that is making him female. He throws it off, threatens her with lawsuits, and is suddenly the male that he knows he really is. So, what a shrink that he goes to might help him with is to point out a few things like this. This is the negative thoughts checklist of cognitive distortions, because believing that you are born in the wrong body is a cognitive distortion and a regression, I add, back to the concrete operational phase of development. Uh, the first one, this checklist of cognitive distortions, is all or nothing thinking. And that's related to autism. Many people who are diagnosed as having so called gender dysphoria are later diagnosed with autism. And a characteristic of that is black and white, all or nothing thinking. Two, overgeneralization of this always happens. Of course, that's exactly what that, white top black culottes dude was doing. He was overgeneralizing that someone he bumped into on the street. Nettie used to bump into me. He used to bump into people. These dudes seek out confrontation. They are looking for someone to yell at. That is not a very female trait, but it's ill-advised no matter which sex you are. 3, the mental filter dwells on the negative and ignores the positive. I'm a good dad. I could be a good dad. I could be a good person. I could help others. They're ignoring all kinds of positive thoughts and thinking only the negative thoughts, which, of course, being the most oppressed demographic, which white top black culottes dude, was very, very much employing there. He actually got derogatory towards this woman and used her race in an inappropriate way. For discount the positive, I think that's kind of same as 3. 5, jumping to conclusions. Yeah, white top, black culotte dude. He completely fits into this, jumping to conclusions. He's mind reading. He can tell what's on her mind. He accuses her of being transphobic. And fortune telling, saying, oh, what's going to happen? A lot of us are going to kill ourselves, or we're going to be killed if you don't tell me something that is a falsehood. Okay, 6, magnification and minimization. This is just along the same vein. Everything is out of proportion. It's not just, oh, excuse me, I didn't see you there. And walking on and saying, oh, sorry about that. And then there's reasoning from feelings and not facts. And then there were 10 on this list, and I didn't think 8 and 9 on Dr. Burns' list really applied here. But number 10 is blaming others and overlooking your own responsibility. So the necessary work for emotional change is challenge the negative thinking every time. Replace it with something positive. Have a list in your head of the positives. That's easy for me because I say, well, okay, I feel kind of overwhelmed. My children still aren't calling me, all this, but, oh, is there a butterfly out there? Oh, I just saw a hummingbird. I'm so happy. Okay. Also, the positive thought must put the lie to the negative thought. All right, I know that actually my children do love me, and I love them. They have been brainwashed and indoctrinated. They have been something pilled, trans-pilled. And ideally, you will reduce your belief in the negative thought all the way to 0. And it is a negative thought to say, oh, I'm born in the wrong body. Everything's wrong with me. And so, how, if this was supposed to be this very, very rare diagnosis, how were Ray Blanchard, Kenneth Zucker, James Cantor, Michael Bailey, how were the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse of psychology using some kind of discernment to tell who has this very rare, oh, there's the hummingbird. have, how can you discern who has this supposedly very rare thing uh, when you're not actively trying to help the patient put positive thoughts back in their mind? And then what Dr. Burns doesn't add as well is what I, Uta Hagen, add, which is all of those negative thoughts disconnect mind and body. So put them to the side, really learn to focus on your breathing, and go to my wellness movements playlist because they will help you. I can tell you, I attest to you that I had quite severe um, post traumatic stress disorder. Some doctors were recommending that I really need to be medicated night and day. Da 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 da. I was having chest pain. I was having panic attacks. Even though I had retired, even though I moved to this great place with a country-ish feel and started a garden and all that, it took me using my professional dance background and my study in psychology and my learning that came from a lovely therapist named Nicole, who I think has left the field. I know she left my area. Um, anyway, Nicole was a cognitive behavior therapy mental health practitioner, and she really was very, very sympathetic. The last of the therapists that I intend to ever see, because most of them are not sympathetic because they are indoctrinated and captured, and what they're busy doing for my time and my money is sympathizing with my ex-husband who isn't there and lying about him and saying I need to call him she. Um, and she helped me. This is Nicole. She helped me to really identify when I'm slipping into my anxiety thinking that is taking over my body and disconnecting my brain, my psyche, my emotions from my body, and to replace those thoughts with the positives. And I just don't have the same difficulties. I'm not on any of that medicine. I go for walks, I do stick walks. I really believe in the cross-body work that I demonstrate here in my movement videos, and also gardening and the satisfaction of knowing that I'm doing something to help the butterflies and the bees. So you be well. Keep on liking, subscribing, and sharing. And remember, we are sending children back into a regression, back to the concrete operational phase of development, if we tell them you can use props, makeup, clothing, shoes, every objects to prove something that is unprovable because it is a feeling.